Hey guys, it's day 19 of the Chameleon build. After today, I've only got one more full day to finish this thing. As you can see, it's very much not finished. We've got so much work to do today. By the end of the day, it needs to have a tail and all the legs need to be on. I'm very stressed and running out of time. For a project this size, I normally would have needed a lot longer to do it, but that just wasn't going to be feasible because this is for an event on Wednesday, so I was kind of just had to hit this deadline, and it has been a real challenge, but I think we're going to get there, and I think it's going to look really good when it's finished, so we should get a lot of progress today and a lot of progress tomorrow. I mean, obviously we have to have a lot of progress today and tomorrow because after that it's due, so I don't really have much of an option. In light of that, I'm going to stop talking and let's just get straight into it. We'll start with the legs. Okay, so here's the first one done. I mean, we're going for a kind of rough and dirty approach to strengthening, which will contrast some of the other more refined elements on it, but I'm pretty happy with this. I like using these bent washers as a sort of building out the joint of the kneecap and things like that. This is also going to have metal sort of coating it, so it'll be less blue, but in terms of strength, this is really strong now, so I just need to do this to all of them. Right, final one, and then they're all welded up. Okay, we have a bunch of very strong legs now. So these are ready structurally, strength-wise, to sort of get added on. What I want to do first is just cover up this blue. So we're just going to pick out some pieces of metal that can just tone it down a little bit so it's not quite as stark a contrast with the rest of the piece before it has any color. And once we've done that and added some hands on, then I'm going to actually weld them all onto the body. So that will be like a really big step forwards to making it look more finished. So I think we're going to use a combination of metal from heat sinks like these, and then also some of this like duller, shinier, thicker metal to fill in these gaps. But there is actually quite a lot that needs to get covered, which shows why I think these heat sinks will be a good way to like get quite a lot of that out of the way. So I'm going to separate some out and hopefully not get them really bent like the other few that we did last time. Okay, these ones, I was about to say these ones aren't too bad, but maybe I spoke a bit too soon. It's this same one every time that's giving me troubles. I wonder if I can just cut it off, see if that will help. Right, I don't know if that will make it easier or harder, but I think hopefully it should now be easier to get these off. Yeah, nice. I reckon we're going to use one of these on each, probably for like the sort of bottom section. So I'm going to get at least 4 off here. Slightly bent, this one, unfortunately, but I don't think it will actually matter whether these look necessarily damaged or not. It's all part of the general look for the whole piece. That's very sharp there. I just cut myself on that a little bit, so that's good fun. Let's have a look at what this is potentially going to look like. So I think something like that would work quite well, just to have one sort of section of it get covered up pretty well. It's a shame to like lose some of this design work that we've done on it. Maybe what I should have done is actually, in fact, yeah, I now realize what I should have done is definitely wrap these in the silver initially, and only then I should have started welding everything on rather than putting this as a top layer. This should have been a sort of middle layer sandwiching. Oh, that's actually really annoying. Obviously I can't undo all of this, it's way too well welded. There might be a way to slip it under some of these pieces. I'd say that has worked pretty well. Perfect. But you can see it sort of made the blue way less obvious. Then maybe we'd just layer with something like that. Don't know, it's a shame you do lose a lot of the interesting elements of the blue and also of the piece. Like this text here is really cool. So in a way that's just covering up more than I would like. Well, we could definitely do that too. We'd be able to fit it under here. And oh, that one might be a bit trickier to get underneath. We could probably, let's have a look. Okay, I've got two of these and I think they'd be pretty perfect for the legs. One on each leg, just to sort of cover up that long section. I just need to remember which leg goes where so that I can be sort of covering the most important side. For now, just make sure I've got another couple of these off before I decide what I'm doing with it. Also going to get a couple of these ones off just for having a slightly different shape, so I think I'll do 4 of these as well. Okay, a bit messy, but I think something like this works quite well because it doesn't cover up quite as much. It's a shame, I quite like that this is a bit duller, whereas this is really, really shiny, which I'm not as big a fan of. Still definitely useful, particularly on these longer ones, I think, mainly more than anything. I'm just gonna get one more of these off now. You'd think between these, and then maybe something else, we should be able to do this. It's just whether or not I actually like how it looks. I'm going to try out a few more things and then show you once I've made a decision. So what I've been doing is taking parts like this and I've just been actually snapping small sections off and sort of laying those out. So it'll just be little things like this. Obviously these are just placed on at the moment to be mainly indicating, but they do quite a good job of like covering up sections. So I'm going to try and pull a few more off both of these parts and then see how much coverage we can actually get out of all of it. Say something like this, which if I just bend it enough times, snaps off really cleanly, and then that can just slot straight on. So I just need to find more parts that I can do the same thing to. This will be quite a cool part. The good thing about doing this is you actually end up with really neat lines compared to trying to cut it. Oh, this is actually really good. It's going to give me a bunch of parts because, right, let's start off actually getting this one off. Yeah, so that's a really nice part. And then I'm actually going to do all 3 of these. Some parts take longer than others to actually find the fault and break, but they'll all go eventually so long as you just keep moving it. And then if we take that, it should go really nicely just to add a little bit of contrast and cover up some of the gaps. Some of these need to be a bit like straightened out after that process, but more or less they're okay. Also, another thing to bear in mind is at the moment these are the only bits of colour. Once all the circuit board is on here, then it won't be so much like, wow, the only colour is on this section. So I think it will work really nicely, just bring a bit of focus onto the legs and also help separate them out from the structure that it's being like built onto. So I'm going to get that all added on. I also have these 2 parts which I want to fill up this gap here with, which means I just need to sand them down a little bit so that they can be welded on to there. I want to get some more parts to do all of our bending. I think like there could be some cool stuff in here. So I need to hammer out the rivets to actually get it off, which is what I'm doing now. Okay, it's off. Okay, so we've got both sides of that gone, but it's really hard to bend this bit here. Let me see. Okay, there we go. This is a bit thicker here and it's going to be harder to bend. You basically, can you see right in there and there? That's a little bit of metal where it's been dented in on this side to make it harder to actually, well, do exactly what we're trying to do here, which is bend this and have it snap, because it's meant to be like a point of strength. So I'm going to have to work slightly harder here. I need to get 2 pairs of pliers. Basically just working our way down and splitting this a little bit further each time, rather than in one go like some of the other parts have gone. Oh, it's fairly hard work. Right, so with this piece, I think actually what we want to do is get this part off this end, and then probably do the same here. This part actually isn't working as well, probably because of all the bending that we did on it. So it's already got some weak spots that have formed that aren't quite in line with everything else. So this one has come out pretty rough, which means I'm gonna want to give it a sand down first, really. Okay, I'm pretty happy with the kind of parts that we've got. So now I'm just gonna actually start getting them put on the legs. Not quite sure when I did this, but it must have happened at some point. Well, I can officially say that my blood, sweat and tears has gone into this piece now. Okay, that's looking way better. This bit you kind of can't see, so I just left it. But I think that's way better than it was before. Another one down. So I'm pretty happy with these legs now that they're all sort of coated. I think that it looks way better and just makes it a lot subtler in terms of the blue coloring. Now I actually need to get these on the piece, which means I'm going to have to create an entirely new welding setup, because I don't think it's going to be possible to actually move this structure and take it over there to weld it. So what I'm going to need to do is move my magnifying lamp as well as the sort of welding stylus over to here, so that I can just freehand go around and be zap zap welding like this, which is going to be a bit of a nightmare. I think it's going to be annoying to move. I think it's going to be difficult to move and is generally going to cause some problems. But I'm going to get started on that. So I'm just going to clean this whole area up so that it's really easy and we can just focus on what we're doing on the middle on the actual piece. But yeah, let's get to it. This is all going to look really nice in like 1 second. If only it was that easy and that quick. Yeah, this is what we're looking at the moment. Obviously the head's not attached right now, it's just propped up, but I think it gives a good indication of how it's going to look. I've also added one of the eyes on. The eyes aren't finished, they still need to be like modified before I actually attach them, but it's again just an indication of how it looks. I'm going to take you guys on a little tour right now so you can see what's going on. Here we have it. Again, just bear in mind that the head is purely for indication currently. And then I've also set up this just small little wire to basically demonstrate what the tail is going to do. So it's going to join around off here, do a little loop, and we're going to be using some of these parts to actually build up the structure of the tail. I've got these two parts which need to respectively on each side get welded on there, and then the arms and legs themselves. Oops. And then the arms and legs themselves. Oh my god, it's turned into a real mess here, so I'm literally standing on everything. And then the arms and legs, obviously, this one doesn't stay attached unless you actually hold it on, but that will be like that. This structure here is just for support purely at the moment, but now I need to go and get all of that welding and lighting and bring it over and add it onto this table. Actually, I completely take that back. What I need to do first is actually work on the claws that the piece is going to have, because I want to do that over through the microscope, so I don't want to change my welding setup until those are done. Once that is done, it really is the home stretch. The tail, I think, I've just reminded myself, no, the tail I should also weld under the microscope. Okay, I think what I need to do now is do the claws, then the tail, and then we start working on this. So what I'm going to do first is I want to work on a little bit of the tail structure, because that's the only segment really that we have of this piece where I haven't done any of it yet. You know, we've got 90% of the arms, the legs, the head, the body, so that's all really pretty much there. It's the home stretch from here, whereas currently the tail is this. So it needs a bit more work. What I'm going to do is I've bent this long welding rod into the shape that I'd like the tail to be, and I obviously need to get it a bit stronger, so I'm going to join it to this more structured piece, and then we'll have like a really good framework to just build from there. So I'm going to weld the two together there and start getting that a nice strong physical shape that then we can really do something cool with. This is going to get very, very hot because I'm going to be performing so many welds on the same piece. So don't be surprised if I burn myself in a minute. Yeah, it's already getting really, really hot. Ouch. But let's just keep going. Ooh. Trying not to keep my fingers too close to it so that I'm less likely to get burnt, but that makes it harder to actually make sure we're getting a really good join between the two parts. So I think I'm gonna have to keep risking it. Yeah, that is hot. It is so hot. Whew. Oh my God. Yeah, that'll be the burn. I keep forgetting where the really hot bits are, and then I put my hand on it, and then I quickly find out. The thing is, both of these parts want to bend in completely different ways, so you kind of spend your whole time fighting it. But it's getting a bit easier down here now. Oops. We don't need to weld as frequently. The more of a bend that you've got, then you need to do really close joints so that you're really matching that bend. When it's sort of flat and straight, you don't need to do that as much. So I've actually slightly messed up that one. Luckily, the weld hadn't taken particularly well because I was doing a bad job, so I was able to just adjust it then. Yeah, I've now got a very blunt electrode, which is meaning this isn't welding as nicely as it should. Unfortunately, because of our whole electrode troubles, every single time I have to sharpen it, it increases the chance that I won't actually be able to weld, and I'll get to a point where I can't do anything in this project. So I'm just trying to make them last as long as possible. The earliest I was able to get some replacement ones to come for is Tuesday, and I've managed to do that so they'll arrive at the very latest at 1 PM. This needs to be at the event 8 AM on Wednesday, so that gives me very little time, so hopefully I don't even need to use them, but it is becoming a source of stress, that's for sure. This electrode that I put in is genuinely on, I don't think I could sharpen it even one more time. It's so short, it's barely in there, so this might actually not work. Yeah, so as you can see, that electrode's just completely come out. Ugh. Okay, this is really irritating. Can't get this in the way. There we go, bit of a tail going, woo! Finally, let's take it over. So it's bent slightly during that process. I'm gonna snip this end bit off because I think it's getting in the way. I think by the time we get to here, we're gonna want to be on the thin ones. So, actually, sorry, I don't think you could see that very well, guys. Yeah, we've got nice curve going on here, really cool loop going on here. I think I would probably just that a little bit just to bring it closer to the rest of the piece. I was saying that I think by the time we hit the end of here, we want to be on the thin sort of diameter and then maintain that up until probably about there. I think we want to get thin from there. So that would mean that we'd have quite a lot of space to spread these ones out. What I do need to do is, unfortunately, we're back to our usual problem of these pieces of metal are not weldable. So obviously that means I need to find a way to make them weldable. And I think how I'm going to do that is by taking nuts like these, putting one on either side, then welding together, and then I can sort of weld a little spider web. So that will be a little bit tedious and a little bit boring. But I think that's the way that we're gonna get this done, because these nuts themselves are actually weldable, and then I can weld the nuts quite nicely just directly onto there. So if you think that is pinned, then I can do that. Once I've got a whole range of these added on here, that's when I'll start taking the other sides into play and building that up. Time to start prepping these guys. Okay, so we've got all of these nuts glued on. These are basically what everything is going to be welded to, and it's how I'll build the strength through these so that they're all welded together. What I do need to do is actually pin these in place with some welding on either side, because it's great to have them super glued on when the pieces are this light, but I still need to actually build up that strength a bit more. But Now, what I'll be able to do is I'll be able to take these, weld them onto our structure, and then that makes it really easy for us to add everything else onto the piece as we go. You can imagine them all spaced out a little bit like a spring and how that will look really cool. Right, time to weld these stupid things. These are the 3 different sizes I've got. I've got 5 of the small ones, 1 slightly larger than the small one, and then these 3 big ones. This is the joining system. This is basically welded on both sides and then pinned through the middle, so it just holds everything really nicely in place. We've got a few of these done. I've got, just so far I've just done 2 of the big ones, the sort of mid-sized small one, and then 1 small one. I think what I want to do is actually get at least 1 of these welded onto the tail, just so we can kind of visualize it a little bit better. So I'm just going to do that now, and then maybe add on a couple of the bigger ones, just kind of to give us, an idea of what this whole thing is actually going to look like. So I'm going to go do that now. Right, I'm kind of hoping that this isn't too difficult to weld. I feel like it should go fairly easily, but I have been wrong before, so I guess we're about to find out. This will be the point where it starts to get thin first. Okay, 1 point of weldiness done. Let's get a couple more on there before I celebrate too soon. Ow. Okay, we have got our first actual bit of tail welded on. I'm gonna do 1 of the big ones as well. Why not? So let's think. I reckon we want to give it a bit of space before it gets. But yeah, let's try something like that. I'm just gonna really lightly weld this one in place, so that if I decide this looks terrible, I can change my mind. This is also gonna be, I can already tell this is gonna be really annoying to do all the welding for, because it's getting in the way already, the sort of whole rest of the structure. But I think that is a good enough distance for when we want it to start. Yeah, this is going to be harder to weld than the... Yeah, already this is definitely more difficult to weld. Not actually getting a good join at all. I think it's because of the angle, but it's really difficult to maneuver this round the right way. Has that worked? Is that okay? Yeah. Right, good. We've got one joint in. Let's quickly get some more before that one fails and falls apart. Again, this electrode is just got too blunt. Seeing as they're just slightly blunt, you just can't really do anything with them, which is obviously a worry considering our situation currently. I mean, this one that I've just put in is already really short. It hasn't got much more life in it, I don't think. Oh shoot. Okay, phew, we've got 2 welds in place now. Good start. Whenever you just have one, it always feels really very weak, very precarious, but you just get that second one in and suddenly it starts to feel so much better. But we need to get at least a third so that we have some on the other side as well. None of this is proving easy. Right, I'm kind of hoping that this isn't too difficult to weld. I feel like it should go fairly easily, but I have been wrong before. Okay, 2 things on. Let's go have a look at this. There we've got 2 on. I'm gonna add this third one on. It should be just about where that hole is and at a slight angle. I think this one's going to be tricky to weld. Oh yeah, it's going to be really difficult to weld. Ugh, just the tail itself makes things pretty annoying because it keeps on getting caught. I need to pull this whole system far away, I think. Hopefully you guys can see a little bit it's I mean, it's about 1 o'clock in the morning now. I very much would like to go home and go to bed. So the filming quite possibly is just going to drop in quality. But if it does, I'm sorry. Trying my best while also maintaining my sanity. Okay. Oh my God. Ooh, 1 weld. I need to go check it with the rest of the piece before I actually commit to strengthening this though. Okay, it's not perfect, but you know what? I think just got to commit and say it's good enough. Of course, I'm not actually connected to anything, that's why that won't weld. Don't know why I do this, I whisper sometimes when I'm, well, talking to you guys. And then when I go to edit and I play it back, I'm like, well, can't hear a thing I was saying, so why did I do that? Especially when, like I said, it's 1 o'clock in the morning here. There's no one around. Could probably shout if I wanted to. Well, not probably. I mean, I could. Not sure if that would make for a good viewing experience, though. Then again, is this rambling a particularly good viewing experience? Debatable. I want to bend this slightly, but am I going to snap the whole thing? Oh, it's so tricky. So you've done a few welds, then it becomes quite difficult to bend it. I think that's going to have to do. I'm just going to get it strong. Just want this to actually work. So hitting myself in the face while I try and weld this. That's great. There, I did it again, whispering. Three sections on the tail. I wasn't loving the angle of that third one when it was here. It just meant that there was going to be a really odd sort of jump and like kink inwards on the tail here. So I removed it very gracefully. So I think what I'm going to do is actually go home because I've got to transport a ton of stuff back home tomorrow to basically do all of the circuit board that is going to go on the Chameleon. He's going to be pretty much covered head to tail in these hexagons cut out from some of the circuit boards that we got on day 3, I think it was. Normally, ideally, I'd be doing it near the studios here, but I don't have a cordless tool that I can cut it with or sand it down, which means if I do it in here, I'm basically just filling my windowless studio with poisonous dust. But yeah, I've got to take my belt sander, my Dremel, a load of tools and the circuit board. And we're probably going to end up needing to cut about 80 different hexagons out and sand them all down. So it's going to be a pretty big morning. Plus it's just hit 2 AM, so I'm pretty knackered and could do with getting some rest before yet another big day tomorrow. So we didn't get as far as we wanted to, obviously. I feel like I say that pretty much at the end of every episode, but all the limbs are ready to go and we have at least got a start to this tail. And to be honest, I do think that the tail should get quicker and quicker. But yeah, tomorrow it's going to be circuit board in the morning, and then once I've got all of that cut out, I'm going to come here and want to get everything welded on. Tomorrow is also the last full day that we have, so yeah, by the end of tomorrow he should be looking sensational, fully formed, covered in circuit board, and then I'll have a little bit of Tuesday just to add all those like details and fine parts, but we're getting there. Let me know what you guys are thinking, leave a like if you've enjoyed this video and subscribe if you want to see more. Bye.